Before we begin, imagine falling in love with someone who changes your entire future, only to discover that keeping your promise to them might destroy everything you've ever known. What would you choose, love, or the life you planned? Stay with me until the end because this story takes twists you will never see coming. And if you enjoy powerful emotional stories like this, make sure you hit subscribe right now, because the stories on this channel only get deeper, darker, and more unforgettable. It started on a rainy afternoon in a small coastal town where nothing exciting ever seemed to happen. The streets were quiet, the ocean wind carried the smell of salt and old wood from the docks, and life moved slowly like time itself had decided to rest there. Ethan Carter had lived in that town his entire life, and by the age of 19 he already believed he knew exactly how the rest of his future would look. He would finish community college, work with his father at the local repair shop, maybe buy a small house near the water, and live the same steady life generations of his family had lived before him. It wasn't a bad life. It was safe, predictable, and calm. But Ethan never realized how fragile that plan was until the day Maya Thompson walked into the town library carrying a suitcase and eyes full of quiet storms. Ethan first noticed her because she didn't look like she belonged there. The town was filled with familiar faces, people who had known each other since childhood, but Maya looked different. Her clothes were simple but city-styled, her posture confident yet tired, and her expression held the kind of sadness that made people curious even when they didn't understand it. She walked slowly between the shelves, scanning book titles as if she were searching for something deeper than stories. Ethan had come to the library only to return a book his professor had forced him to read, but the moment he saw her he forgot why he was there at all. At first he didn't speak to her. Ethan wasn't the type of guy who approached strangers, especially girls who seemed far more interesting than he felt himself to be. But fate has a strange way of pushing people together. As Maya reached for a book on the top shelf, the stack beside her suddenly collapsed. Hardcovers fell everywhere, echoing across the quiet room. Ethan reacted instinctively, rushing over to help gather them before the librarian could complain. For a moment their hands touched while picking up the same book, and Maya looked up at him with a small embarrassed smile. "Thanks," she said softly. "It's no problem," Ethan replied, suddenly aware that his heart was beating faster than it should. That simple exchange might have ended there, but the rain outside had grown heavier. The storm trapped both of them inside the library longer than expected, and awkward small talk slowly turned into a conversation that neither of them had planned. Ethan learned that Maya had just moved into town with her aunt after leaving the city. She avoided explaining exactly why she had left, brushing past the question with a quick change of subject, but Ethan didn't push. Something in her voice told him that whatever the reason was, it wasn't a simple one. Over the next hour they talked about music, books, dreams, and the strange quietness of the town. Maya laughed more than Ethan expected, but every so often her smile faded for a split second, like a shadow passing across the sun. By the time the rain finally stopped, Ethan realized something strange. For the first time in years, he didn't feel bored with his town anymore. Because now Maya was in it. Over the following weeks their paths crossed again and again, sometimes by accident, sometimes intentionally. Ethan began visiting the library more often, pretending he needed books he would never actually read. Maya started walking along the harbor in the evenings, the same place Ethan liked to sit and watch the sunset. Their conversations grew longer. Their laughter came easier. And without either of them realizing it, something powerful was beginning to grow between them. But Maya was still hiding something. One evening as they sat on the wooden dock watching fishing boats return to shore, Ethan finally asked the question he had been avoiding. "Why did you really leave the city?" Maya's expression changed instantly. The wind moved her hair across her face as she stared out at the dark water. "Because sometimes," she said quietly, "you have to run away from the life people expect you to live." Ethan didn't understand what she meant, but he sensed that the answer carried more weight than the simple words suggested. What he didn't know yet was that Maya hadn't just left the city. She had escaped it, and sooner or later, the past she ran from would come looking for her. The summer passed quickly after that. Ethan and Maya spent nearly every day together, exploring the cliffs outside town, sharing late-night conversations under the stars, and building memories that felt bigger than the small town around them. For Ethan, life had never felt so alive. For Maya, it felt like breathing again after years underwater. Then one night, beneath a sky full of stars, Maya made Ethan a promise. Or perhaps it was Ethan who made the promise to her. Whatever happens, she whispered, don't let them change who you are. Ethan laughed softly. Who's going to change me? Maya looked at him with an intensity that made his chest tighten. You'd be surprised. What Ethan didn't know was that Maya's past involved powerful people, dangerous secrets, and a future that might pull her far away from the quiet town they had begun to call their world. And when that future finally arrived, Ethan would be forced to choose between the life he always planned and the love he never expected. Because sometimes young love doesn't just ignite hearts. Sometimes it starts a fire that changes everything. And this was only the beginning.